Hello, this is my science climate mind map. My topic will be contributions to major changes in the Earth's temperatures. To this, I have four subtopics. The first is Milankovitch cycles. Second are major changes in the thermohaline circulation. Third is CO2 emissions and climate change. And finally, we have short-term climate drivers. So, to start off with Milankovitch cycles, there are three major Milankovitch cycles: orbital changes, axial tilts, and precession. Orbital changes means the degree of deviation from an orbit to a perfect circle. This affects the amount of solar radiation that the Earth gets, and so the orbital change happens every 100,000 years. Then we have axial tilts. Axial tilts is the inclination of the Earth's axis. This affects the amount of sunlight different parts of the world receives. This also influences the angle in which the sunlight hits the Earth, which affects the intensity and duration of seasons. The axial tilts happens around 42,000 years. Finally, we have precession, which refers to the gradual change in the orientation of the Earth's rotational axis, which is like the wobbling of a spinning top. This affects the timing of seasons and happens around every 26,000 years or so. The next subtopic to contributions to major changes in the Earth's temperatures are major changes in thermohaline circulation. For this, we have La Nina and El Nino, and we have positive feedback loop of ice melting. A positive feedback loop is almost like a chain reaction that increases as it goes on. This happens with the melting of ice, as ice is very reflective, has a high albedo, and that creates colder temperatures. But when ice starts to melt, less sunlight is reflected out, and so it becomes warmer and more ice melts, creating a cycle where more ice melts and the temperature becomes warmer. This is a large contributor to climate change as it makes the planet warmer, and also decreases the salinity of water and creates rises in the water levels. Next, we have El Nino. El Nino is a climate phenomenon that happens when a section of the Pacific the Pacific Ocean heats up. This affects ocean currents, causing temperatures of many major cities around the world to go up. It also generally becomes more dry around the world. This happens every 2 to 7 years and can come at different intensities. And then we have La Nina. La Nina is basically the opposite of El Nino. It's a climate phenomenon that happens when a section of the Pacific cools down. After ocean currents, it affects the ocean currents, changing the temperature of many major cities around the world. It also generally makes it more humid with a lot of rainfall and happens every 2 to 7 years and can come at different intensities. This affects the thermohaline circulation, as the thermohaline circulation works with heat and cooling, and La Nina and El Nino has temperature differences in the water. The next major subtopic is CO2 emissions and climate change. To start off, we have deforestation. People usually do deforestation for agriculture. Deforestation releases a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere, and this is because trees turn CO2 into O2. This also impacts the biodiversity of an area and affects the animals and species of that area. And the loss of biodiversity can affect the planet's resilience to climate change. And then we have fossil fuel combustion, which is the process of burning fossil fuels like coal and oil to make energy. This releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. It is a primary source of CO2, a major greenhouse gas which is mainly responsible for global warming. CO2 traps heat in the atmosphere, which enhances the greenhouse effect and then rises global temperatures very quickly. Finally, we have short-term climate drivers, first of which is wildfires. Wildfires are just large, uncontrolled fires located in forests. They end up heating the area around a lot, and they release a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere, which traps heat, once again warming the areas around it. All of this causes wildfires to drastically alter the local weather. Next, we have jet streams. And jet streams are essentially just high-altitude currents. They are located in the troposphere. Jet streams influence the movement of weather systems. These form due to the tendency of warm air to rise and cold air to fall. This phenomenon is responsible for the forest-desert layout of the Earth. The pressure of cold air dropping causes the deserts, and the moisture of warm air solidifying due to altitude creates the forests. Finally, we have volcanoes. Volcanoes release ashes and sulfur into the atmosphere, creating reflective aerosols. This can lead to short-term cooling by scattering sunlight and reducing the amount of solar radiation that reaches the surface. So next, finally, we have the citations over here. There are all these citations, which are links to different tabs, and we have a few videos. And thank you very much for listening to my mind map on climate change. I hope you have a great day.